Jake and Pete found the sisters in what appeared to be the ship's control center. The room was filled with floating displays that showed star maps, energy readings, and strange symbols that moved like living things. Zara and Lyra stood in the center, their hands touching as they worked together to monitor the approaching collective ships. "We have made our decision," Jake said as they entered the room. Both sisters turned to look at him. Their eyes seemed to glow with anticipation. "I want to try the bonding process," Jake continued. "But I have conditions," Lyra nodded. "Tell us what you need." "First, Pete stays with us no matter what happens. Second, if something goes wrong during the bonding, you stop immediately. And third, I want to understand exactly what we're doing." "Before we start, these are reasonable requests," Zara said. "But we must begin soon. The collective ships will be here in less than 4 hours. Actually," Lyra said, looking at one of the floating displays, "we should test the bonding first. Create a temporary connection to see if it will work before attempting something permanent." Jake felt his stomach tighten. "Is that possible?" "Yes, but it will be intense," Zara warned. "You will experience our thoughts and memories for a short time. We will experience yours as well. It may be overwhelming." Pete stepped forward. "What are the risks?" "If Jake's mind is not compatible with ours, the temporary bond could cause confusion, memory loss, or psychological damage," Lyra explained honestly. "But if we attempt a permanent bond without testing first, the damage could be much worse." Jake took a deep breath. "How long would the test last?" "Perhaps 30 minutes, Zara said. "Long enough to determine compatibility, but short enough to minimize risk. And if it works, then we would know that a permanent bond is possible," Lyra said. "But Jake, you should understand that even the test will change you. Once you have experienced our connection, you will never be quite the same." Jake looked at Pete, who gave him an encouraging nod. "Let's do it." The sisters led Jake to a circular platform in the center of the room. The surface was made of the same crystal-like material as the rest of the ship, but it seemed to pulse with a soft inner light. "Sit here," Zara said, indicating the center of the platform. "We will sit on either side of you." As Jake sat down, he felt the platform respond to his presence. It became warm and seemed to adjust itself to support his body perfectly. The sisters took their positions on either side of him, and immediately Jake could sense something different in the air. It was like standing near a powerful electrical generator, but instead of electricity, he could feel thoughts and emotions. "Give me your hands," Lyra said softly. Jake extended his hands, and each sister took one. The moment their skin touched his, Jake felt a shock that ran through his entire body. It wasn't painful, but it was unlike anything he had ever experienced. "Relax," Zara said, her voice seeming to come from inside his head. "Don't fight the connection. Let it happen naturally." Jake tried to relax, but it was difficult. He could feel something probing at the edges of his mind, like gentle fingers exploring the rooms of a house. The sensation was strange but not unpleasant. Then suddenly, the world exploded into color and sensation. Jake found himself experiencing memories that were not his own. He saw the sisters as children, learning to control their psychic abilities. He felt their first tentative mental connection, the joy and wonder of sharing thoughts with another being. He experienced their years of training, their dedication to scientific research, their growing frustration with the rigid rules of the collective dot at the same time. He could sense the sisters experiencing his memories. They saw his childhood on Earth, his years working on various ships, the loneliness of space travel, and his deep desire to help others. He felt their surprise at the strength of his emotions, their wonder at the way he made decisions based on intuition rather than logic. Connection deepened, and Jake began to understand things that had never made sense to him before. He could sense the flow of energy through the ship's systems, could feel the gravitational pull of nearby stars, could detect the approach of the collective vessels, even though they were still hours away. But most amazing of all, he could feel the bond between Zara and Lyra. It was like experiencing a perfect harmony. two minds that worked together so closely that they were almost one being. The love and trust between them was so strong that it took Jake's breath away. "This is what we are offering you," Zara's thoughts whispered in his mind. "This connection, this unity, this shared strength." Jake tried to respond, but found that he didn't need to speak. His thoughts flowed directly to both sisters. "It's incredible. I never imagined anything like this could exist." "And you bring something to the connection that we lack," Lyra's thoughts added. "Your emotional depth, your ability to act on instinct, your willingness to sacrifice for strangers." The three minds began to work together in ways that Jake couldn't have imagined. Problems that would have taken him hours to solve became clear in seconds. He could see patterns in the star charts that revealed safe routes through dangerous space. He could understand the alien technology as if he had designed it himself. Then something unexpected happened. The ship's alarm system activated, but instead of being startled, Jake immediately knew what was wrong. The collective ships had arrived earlier than expected, and they were moving fast. "They're using a gravity well generator to increase their speed," Jake said, the knowledge flowing through the connection. "They'll be here in 40 minutes, not 4 hours." The sisters were amazed. Neither of them had known about gravity well generators, but somehow Jake's mind had made the connection when he saw the sensor readings. "How did you know that?" Zara asked, speaking aloud now. "I don't know," Jake admitted. "It just seemed obvious when I looked at the data." Lyra was studying the sensor displays with new understanding. "He's right. The energy signatures show gravitational distortion. We need to leave immediately." "But we haven't finished the tests," Zara pointed out. Jake stood up from the platform, still feeling the residual connection to both sisters. "I think we have our answer. The bond works. My mind is compatible with yours. But a temporary connection is very different from a permanent bond," Lyra warned. "Are you certain you want to proceed?" Jake looked out through the transparent walls at the stars. Somewhere out there, the collective ships were racing toward them. Soon they would have to make a choice between running and fighting. But if the permanent bond worked, they might have other options. "I'm certain," Jake said. "But we need to do it now, while we still have time." Pete, who had been watching quietly, stepped forward. "Captain, are you sure about this?" Jake felt the lingering connection to the sisters' minds, the sense of expanded awareness and possibility. "I've never been more sure of anything in my life, Pete. This is bigger than just me. This could change everything for both our species." "Then let's do it," Zara said, her voice filled with determination. "The permanent bonding process will take approximately 1 hour," Lyra explained. "We will not be able to pilot the ships during that time." "I can handle the ships," Pete said. "I've been studying your systems while you've been talking. Human engineering and alien technology aren't that different when you get down to basics." Jake smiled at his friend's confidence. "Can you keep us away from the collective until the bonding is complete?" Pete grinned. "Captain, I've been keeping ships running in impossible situations for 20 years. Trust me." Jake nodded and turned back to the sisters. "Let's begin the permanent bond." Jake spent the next 2 hours walking through the alien ship, trying to understand what Zara and Lyra had offered him. The corridors seemed to respond to his presence, lighting up as he approached and dimming behind him. Pete had gone back to the New Horizon to check on the repairs, leaving Jake alone with his thoughts. The idea of joining a psychic bond with the alien sisters was both exciting and terrifying. Jake had always felt different from other humans, like he could sense things that others miss. During dangerous situations, he often knew what to do without thinking about it. But he had never imagined that this might be something more than good instincts. As he walked, Jake found himself in what looked like a library. The walls were covered with strange symbols that seemed to move and change as he watched them. Zara was there, standing in front of a display that showed images of different alien species. "Having second thoughts?" she asked without turning around. "More like having first thoughts," Jake replied. This is all so new to me. Yesterday I was just a cargo ship captain. Now you're telling me I could become something completely different. Zara turned to face him. Up close, Jake could see that her eyes were not just one color, but contained swirls of blue, green, and gold. Change is frightening, but it is also how we grow. My sister and I were not born bonded. We chose to connect our minds when we were young adults. What was it like? Jake asked. The bonding process, I mean. Imagine that you have spent your entire life in a small room, Zara said. Then suddenly, the walls disappear, and you find yourself in a vast garden. Everything is new and overwhelming, but also beautiful and full of possibilities. Jake sat down on a chair that formed itself from the floor. But you and Laura are the same species. I'm completely different from you. What if the bonding process doesn't work? What if it hurts all of us? There are risks, Zara admitted. But we believe the potential rewards are worth it. Your species has qualities that we lack. You make decisions based on emotion and intuition, not just logic. You care about strangers, even when helping them might hurt you. These are not weaknesses, Jake. They are strengths. Before Jake could respond, Lyra appeared in the doorway. Her movements were so quiet that Jake hadn't heard her approach. The collective patrol ships are getting closer, she said. We detected their signals an hour ago. They will be here within 6 hours. Jake felt a chill. The collective? I thought you were part of them. We were, Zara said sadly. But when we proposed our research into cross-species bonding, the Council declared it forbidden. They believe that our genetic purity must be preserved, that bonding with other species would corrupt our minds. So you're criminals in the eyes of your own people, Jake realized. We are scientists who believe that growth requires taking risks, Lyra said. The collective has become too focused on maintaining what we have instead of discovering what we could become. Jake stood up and walked to the display screen. The images showed dozens of different alien species, each one unique and beautiful in its own way. Have you tried to bond with any of these other species? We have tested many individuals, Zara said, but none had the neural flexibility required. Most species develop psychic abilities in ways that make them incompatible with our bonding process. Others are too different from us mentally. But humans are different, Lyra added. Your minds are structured in a way that might allow for a successful bond, while still maintaining your unique perspective. Jake turned back to the sisters. What exactly would this bond do to me? Would I still be human? You would still be you, Zara assured him. But you would also be more. You would have access to our memories, our knowledge, our abilities. You will be able to pilot ships with your thoughts, to sense danger before it happens, to communicate across vast distances. And we would gain your intuition, your emotional intelligence, your ability to connect with others, Lyra said. Together we would be something new, something that could help both our species understand each other. Pete's voice came from Jake's communicator. Captain, we've got problems. Long-range sensors are showing multiple ships heading this way. They're not pirates this time. These look like military vessels. Jake activated his communicator. How much time do we have? Maybe 5 hours before they get here. And Captain, these ships are fast. If we're going to leave, we need to do it soon. Jake looked at the two sisters. They were watching him with expressions that seemed both hopeful and resigned. He realized that they had given up everything for their research. They had become outcasts from their own people, and now they were running out of time. If I agree to this bonding, Jake said, what happens to Pete? What happens to my ship? Your friend would be welcome to stay with us, Zara said. We will protect him and ensure his safety. As for your ship, it will become part of our small fleet. But I could never go back to Earth, Jake said. I could never see my home again. That is true, Lyra said gently. The bonding process would change you in ways that might make it difficult to live among your own people. You would be something between human and ethereal. Jake felt the weight of the decision pressing down on him. He thought about Earth, about the other humans who were just beginning to explore space. If he agreed to the bonding, he might be able to help them avoid conflicts with more advanced species. But he would have to give up his old life completely. "Can I talk to Pete about this?" Jake asked. "Of course," Zara said. "But remember, we don't have much time. The Collective Patrol will not hesitate to destroy us if they find us." Jake left the library and made his way back to the New Horizon. He found Pete in the engine room, working on the damage from the pirate attack. The familiar surroundings of his own ship made Jake feel more grounded. "Pete, I need to talk to you about something." "Important." Pete looked up from his work. "Let me guess. The space ladies want you to join their mind meld thing." Jake was surprised. "How did you know?" "I've been watching the way they look at you, Captain. And I've been watching the way you look at them. You're considering it, aren't you?" Jake sat down on a tool crate. "I think I am. This could be important, Pete. Not just for me, but for all of humanity. If I can form a bond with them, I might be able to help our species avoid the mistakes that other races have made." Pete put down his tools and looked at Jake seriously. "Captain, I've worked with you for 5 years. I've seen you make tough decisions before, but this is different. This is about who you are, not just what you do." "I know," Jake said. "That's why I need to know what you think." Pete was quiet for a long moment. "I think you're the kind of person who would never forgive himself if he didn't try to help when he had the chance. And I think those aliens picked the right human for whatever they're planning." "But what about you?" Jake asked. "What about the New Horizon? What about your life?" Pete smiled. "My life is keeping ships running and keeping good people safe. If you decide to do this crazy thing, then I'll be here to help you figure out how to make it work." Jake felt a surge of gratitude for his friend. It would be dangerous. We'd be on the run from the Collective, and probably from human authorities too. "Sounds like Tuesday," Pete said with a grin. "Besides, someone needs to keep an eye on you. Make sure you don't forget how to be human." Jake made his decision. "Let's go talk to the sisters." The docking bay of the alien ship was unlike anything Jake had ever seen. The walls seemed to glow with a soft blue light that came from within the material itself. The floor was smooth and warm under his feet, and the air smelled like flowers after rain. Everything had curved edges and flowing lines, as if the entire ship had been carved from a single piece of crystal. Jake and Pete had left the New Horizon, docked to the larger of the two alien ships. The sisters had called it the Harmony, while the smaller ship was named the Melody. Even their ship names sounded musical. "This place gives me the creeps," Pete whispered as they walked through the corridors. "It's too clean, too perfect." "It's just different," Jake replied, though he had. To admit the alien ship made him feel small and out of place. Everything was designed for beings who were taller and more graceful than humans. They reached what seemed to be the main meeting room. The space was circular, with a high ceiling that showed the stars outside through transparent walls. In the center of the room stood two figures that took Jake's breath away. The aliens were humanoid, but clearly not human. They were tall and elegant, with pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer in the light. Their faces were beautiful in a way that was both familiar and strange. They had large eyes that changed color like water, and their hair moved as if it were floating in a gentle breeze. But what struck Jake most was how similar they looked to each other. They were clearly twins, though there were small differences. One was slightly taller with longer hair, while the other had more angular features and moved with quick, precise gestures. "Captain Morrison," the taller one said, her voice like music, even when speaking English. "I am Zara. This is my sister Lyra." "Thank you for meeting with us," Jake said, not sure the proper way to greet aliens. "I'm Jake Morrison, and this is Pete Rodriguez, my engineer." Lyra stepped forward. Her movements were smooth and flowing, like a dancer. "You risk your lives to save us. This is not common behavior among the species we have encountered. We couldn't just let you die," Jake said. It seemed like the right thing to do. The two sisters exchanged a look that seemed to carry more meaning than words. Jake had the strange feeling that they were talking to each other without speaking. "Please sit," Zara said, gesturing the chairs that seemed to grow from the floor. As they watched, "We have much to discuss." Jake and Pete sat down carefully. The chairs adjusted to their bodies, becoming more comfortable than anything Jake had ever experienced. "Tell us about your species," Lyra said. "We have traveled to many worlds, but we have never encountered humans before." Jake wasn't sure where to begin. "We're from a planet called Earth. We've only been traveling in space for a few hundred years. Most of us work in mining, trading, or farming. We're not very advanced compared to you. You achieve space travel without developing psychic abilities," Zara observed. "This is very rare." "Psychic abilities?" Pete asked. Lyra nodded. "Most species develop mental powers before. They learn to travel between stars. The ability to read thoughts, to move objects with the mind, to share consciousness with others. Your species seems to have skipped this step entirely." Jake felt a chill. "You can read minds?" "Among our own people, yes," Zara said. "But your minds are different. We can sense your emotions, your basic intentions, but your thoughts are shielded in a way we do not understand." "That's probably a good thing," Pete muttered. Lyra smiled, and the expression transformed her face. "Your engineer has a practical mind. We appreciate this quality." "You said you're sisters," Jake said. "Are you related by blood, or is it something else?" The two aliens looked at each other again, and Jake was sure they were communicating in some way he couldn't detect. "We are genetic twins," Zara explained. "But we are also bonded in a way that is deeper than family. We share thoughts, feelings, and experiences. When one of us is hurt, the other feels the pain. When one of us learns something new, the other gains the knowledge as well. That's why you can pilot your ships together so perfectly," Jake realized. "Yes," Lyra said. "We are two bodies, but one consciousness. This bond is sacred among our people. It is how we achieve harmony with the universe." Pete looked uncomfortable. "That sounds nice, but what does it have to do with us?" Zara stood up and walked to the transparent wall. She looked out at the stars, her expression thoughtful. "We are scientists, not warriors. We study the bonds between living beings, searching for ways to create deeper connections between species." "The pirates wanted to steal our research," Lyra added. "They believe that our knowledge of psychic bonds could be used to control others. They do not understand that true bonds must be willing and equal." Jake felt a growing sense of unease. "What kind of research are you doing?" "We search for individuals who have the potential to form new kinds of bonds," Zara said, turning back to face them. "Bonds that could bridge the gap between different species, creating understanding where there was once only fear and suspicion. We have been traveling for many years," Lyra continued. "We have tested thousands of beings from dozens of species. None have shown the potential we seek. Until now," Zara said, looking directly at Jake. Jake felt his heart skip a beat. "What do you mean?" "When you saved our ships, we were able to study your neural patterns," Lyra explained. "Your brain activity during the crisis was unlike anything we have seen. You made decisions that should have been impossible for a being without psychic training. You coordinated the power transfer between 3 different ships with technologies you had never seen before," Zara added. "You anticipated our movements and acted in perfect harmony with our actions. This suggests a latent ability that even you do not recognize." Pete looked worried. "Are you saying Jake is some kind of mutant?" "Not a mutant," Lyra said gently, "but someone with the potential to develop abilities that could change the future of both our species." Jake stood up, feeling overwhelmed. "I don't understand. I'm just a cargo ship captain. I don't have any special powers." "But you do," Zara insisted. "You have something that is more rare than psychic abilities." You have the capacity to form bonds with beings who are completely different from yourself. You trusted us when logic said you should run away. You risked everything to save strangers. That's not a psychic power, Jake said. That's just being human. The two sisters smiled at the same time, and Jake felt a warmth that seemed to come from both of them. Exactly, Lyra said. That is what makes you so special. Your species has developed something that we have lost in our pursuit of mental perfection. You have maintained your capacity for emotional connection, for intuitive understanding, for selfless action. We believe that you, Captain Morrison, have the potential to form a bond with us, Zara said. A three-way connection that has never been attempted in the history of our people. Jake felt the room spinning around him. You want me to join your psychic bond? We want to offer you the chance to become something new, Lyra said. A bridge between our species. A being who combines human intuition with our psychic abilities. The process will be permanent, Zara warned. You would be changed in ways that cannot be undone. But you would also gain abilities beyond anything your species has ever known. Jake looked at Pete, who was staring at the aliens with a mixture of fear and amazement. What would happen to me? Jake asked. You would become part of us, Lyra said. And we will become part of you. Together, we will be something greater than the sum of our parts. Think about it, Captain, Zara said. But do not take too long. There are others who know of our research, and they will come looking for us. Soon. The mining lasers fired from the new horizon in bright red beams. Jake watched as they hit the side of the large pirate ship. The beams cut through the outer armor, like they were designed to cut through rock. Sparks flew from the damaged sections, and the pirate ship shuddered from the impact. I can't believe that actually worked, Pete said, staring at his instruments. The pirate ship slowed down and turned toward the new horizon. Jake could see weapon ports opening along its hull. These were real weapons made for destroying other ships, not tools borrowed from a mining operation. They're not happy with us, Jake said. Can you give me more power to the lasers? I'm trying, Captain, but the power systems weren't built for this kind of work. If I push them too hard, we might lose everything. Jake looked at the two damaged alien ships. They were still moving away from the pirates, but very slowly. He could see pieces of their hulls floating in space behind them. Whatever had happened to them, they were in bad shape. The communication system crackled to life again. This time, the translation computer was working better. The two musical voices were clearer now, and Jake could understand some of what they were saying. Human ship ... thank you. We are Zara and Lyra, sisters of the ethereal collective ... Tell them we're here to help, Jake said to Pete. Pete sent a message back using the communication system. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the human ship New Horizon. We want to help you. The response came back quickly. The two voices sounded different from each other now that Jake could hear them clearly. One voice was higher and seemed more excited. The other was lower and more calm. Captain Morrison, we are grateful. Our ships are damaged ... power failing. Pirates want our research. Jake felt a chill. These aliens had been doing research, and pirates wanted to steal it. That meant the research was valuable enough to fight for, but it also meant these aliens were not warriors. They were scientists who had been attacked while doing their work. The pirate ship fired its weapons at the New Horizon. The shots missed, but they were close enough that Jake could see the energy beams flash past the bridge windows. The ship shook from the near miss. They're getting closer, Pete warned. Our mining lasers can't match their real weapons. Jake looked at his options. He could try to run away, but the pirate ship was faster. He could keep fighting, but his ship would probably be destroyed. Or he could try something else. Pete, can you transfer power from our ship to theirs? Transfer power to alien ships? Captain, I don't even know how their systems work. But you said power is power, right? Energy is energy. If we can figure out how to connect to their systems, maybe we can help them get their engines working again. Pete thought about this for a moment. It's possible, but it would be dangerous. If their systems are different from ours, we could damage both ships. And we'd have to get close to them to make the connection. Jake made his decision. Do it. Those pirates are going to destroy all of us if we don't work together. The New Horizon moved closer to the two alien ships. Jake could see them clearly now. They were beautiful vessels with smooth curves and what looked like crystal panels along their hulls. They were nothing like the boxy, practical human ships he was used to dot as they got closer. Jake could see that the ships were designed to work together. They had the same basic shape, but one was slightly larger than the other. It was like they were meant to be flown by people who knew each other very well. I'm getting readings from their power systems, Pete reported. This is strange, Captain. Their technology is completely different from ours, but somehow I think I can make it work. The pirate ship was still chasing them, but it seemed to be having problems. Jake's mining lasers had damaged something important, and the big ship was moving more slowly than before. Talk to me, Pete. What do you need? I need to get close enough to the alien ships to connect our power cables. It's going to be tricky, but I think I can jury-rig something that will work. Jake maneuvered the New Horizon between the two alien vessels. The communication system came alive with the voices of Zara and Lyra. Captain Morrison, what are you doing? We're going to give you power so you can escape, Jake replied. This is very dangerous, ... Our systems are not compatible, ... My engineer thinks he can make it work. Do you trust us? There was a pause, and then both voices spoke at the same time. We trust you. Pete worked quickly, using the ship's external manipulator arms to connect power cables to the alien ships. Jake watched as energy readings showed power flowing from the New Horizon to both alien vessels. It's working, Pete said with surprise. Their power levels are coming back up. Jake could see the alien ships beginning to move faster. Their engines were glowing brighter, and the debris trail behind them was getting smaller. The pirate ship fired again, and this time the shot hit the New Horizon. The ship shook violently and alarms started ringing throughout the bridge. Hull! Breach in cargo bay 2, Pete reported. We're losing air. Jake felt his heart pounding. His ship was damaged, and the pirates were getting closer. But the alien ships were recovering their power. Maybe there was still a chance. Can you seal the breach? I'm trying, but we're losing pressure fast. And Captain, the pirates are charging their main weapons. The next shot might finish us. The communication system crackled again. This time, both alien voices sounded determined. Captain Morrison, disconnect the power cables. We have enough energy now. Jake watched as Pete pulled the power cables. Back to the New Horizon. The two alien ships were moving much faster now, their engines glowing with renewed power. Thank you, Captain, Zara's voice said. Now we will help you. Jake didn't understand what she meant until he saw the two alien ships turn around. Instead of running away from the pirates, they were coming back to help him. What are they doing? Pete asked. The alien ships moved with a grace that Jake had never seen before. They flew in perfect formation, like they were connected by invisible strings. As they approached the pirate ship, Jake could see weapons appearing on their hulls. These were not the aggressive weapons of the pirates, but something more elegant and precise. The alien ships fired together, their weapons creating beams of blue light that struck the pirate ship with incredible accuracy. The pirate ship's shields flared, and then failed. More shots hit the engine section, and Jake could see explosions inside the enemy vessel. They're not trying to destroy it, Pete observed. They're disabling it. Jake watched as the pirate ship's engines went dark. The large vessel began to drift, no longer able to chase anyone. The two alien ships returned to the New Horizon. Jake could see them more clearly now. They were even more beautiful up close, with intricate patterns carved into their hulls and crystal windows that seemed to glow with their own light. Captain Morrison, Lyra's voice said, you saved our lives. We owe you a debt that cannot be repaid. You don't owe us anything, Jake replied. We just did what was right. That is why we must talk, Zara added. There are things about your species that we must understand. Will you meet with us? Jake looked at Pete, who shrugged. We've come this far, Captain. Might as well see what they want to say. Yes, Jake said into the communication system. We'll meet with you. Captain Jake Morrison stared at the glowing display screen in front of him. The numbers showed another boring day in space. His cargo ship, the New Horizon, was carrying metal ore from the mining station on Kepler 442b to the trading post 3. Systems away. It was the kind of work that paid the bills, but never made anyone rich or famous. The ship's bridge was small and cramped. Jake sat in the captain's chair, which was really just a comfortable seat with some controls built into the arms. His engineer, Pete Rodriguez, was checking the engine readings at his station nearby. Pete was a good man who had worked with Jake for 5 years. He kept the old ship running when most people would have given up on it. How are we doing back there, Pete? Jake asked. Same as always, Captain. The engines are holding together with hope and spare parts. But we should make it to the trading post without any problems. Jake nodded and looked out the small window at the stars. Space was beautiful, but it could also be very lonely. They had been traveling for 3 days and had 2 more days to go. The only sounds were the quiet hum of the ship's systems and the soft beeping of the navigation computer. Then, something changed. A new sound came from the communication system. It was unlike anything Jake had ever heard before. Most distress signals were simple beeps or recorded messages asking for help. This sound was different. It was musical, like someone singing, but also clearly meant to get attention. Pete, are you hearing this? Jake asked. Pete looked up from his work. Yeah, Captain. That's not coming from any human ship. The computer can't even figure out what language it is. Jake felt his heart beat faster. In all his years of flying cargo ships, he had never encountered aliens. Most humans believed they existed somewhere in the galaxy, but no one had ever met them. The sound kept playing, and even though Jake didn't understand it, he could tell it was a call for help. Can you tell where it's coming from? Jake asked. Pete worked on his computer for a few minutes. It's coming from the edge of this system. About 6 hours away if we change course. Jake thought about what to do. His job was to deliver the ore to the trading post. The company that hired him expected the cargo to arrive on time. If he went to investigate the signal, he would be late. That could mean losing money or even losing his job. But the signal kept playing, and Jake could hear something like fear in the musical tones. Someone out there needed help. Jake had always believed that helping others was the right thing to do, even when it was difficult or dangerous. Set course for the signal, Jake decided. Captain, are you sure? We have a job to do. The company won't be happy if we're late. I'm sure, Pete. If someone needs help, we should try to help them. The ore can wait a few hours. Pete shook his head but started changing their course. You're the captain, but I hope we don't regret this. The New Horizon turned toward the source of the signal. Jake watched the stars shift as they changed direction. The musical distress call kept playing, sometimes getting louder, sometimes getting softer. It was like listening to a song that told a story of danger and fear. As they got closer, Jake started to see something on the long-range sensors. There were 3 objects in space ahead of them. 2 were about the same size as the New Horizon, but they had very different shapes. Instead of being long and boxy like human ships, these vessels were curved and smooth. They looked almost like they had been grown rather than built. Those aren't human ships, Pete said, looking at the sensor readings. No, they're not, Jake agreed. But they're definitely artificial. Someone made them. The 3rd object was much larger than the other. 2. It had a dark, aggressive look that made Jake feel uncomfortable. The 2 smaller ships seemed to be moving away from the larger one, but they were moving slowly, like they were damaged. The big ship is chasing the 2 smaller ones, Pete observed. Jake studied the sensor data. The 2 smaller ships were the source of the distress signal. They were clearly in trouble. Their power levels were dropping, and they were leaving a trail of debris behind them. Can we talk to them? Jake asked. Pete tried to open a communication channel. After a few moments, the musical sound changed. Now it sounded like two different voices, both female, speaking in harmony. The ship's computer tried to translate, but it could only pick up a few words. Help ... danger ... sister ... Jake felt a chill run down his spine. These were not just alien ships. There were people inside them. People who were afraid and asking for help. The word sister made Jake think that the two ships might be connected somehow. Try to tell them we want to help, Jake said. Pete worked on the communication system. He sent a simple message using basic mathematics and pictures. The response came back quickly. The two voices sounded hopeful now, and Jake could hear relief in their musical tones. The large ship seemed to notice the new horizon. It changed course and started moving toward them. Jake could see weapons on its hull, and they looked much more advanced than anything on his small cargo ship. Captain, I think we might be in trouble, Pete said, his voice tight with worry. Jake looked at the sensor. Readings. The big ship was 3 times the size of the New Horizon and clearly designed for fighting. His ship was built for carrying cargo, not for battles in space. The only weapons they had were industrial mining lasers, which were meant for cutting through rock, not fighting other ships. But the 2 smaller ships were still calling for help. Jake could see that their power was failing. If he didn't do something soon, the people inside those ships would die. He had to make a choice between his own safety and helping strangers. Pete, can you boost power to the mining lasers? The mining lasers? Captain, those aren't weapons. They're tools for cutting up asteroids. Right now, they're the only weapons we have. Can you boost their power? Pete looked at Jake like he was crazy, but he started working on the controls. I can give you about 20% more power, but it won't last long. And Captain, even with the boost, those lasers won't do much damage to a ship that size. Jake watched as the large ship got closer. He could see details on its hull now. It was covered in armor and weapons. Whoever had built it had meant for it to be a tool of war and destruction. The 2 smaller ships were still moving, but they were getting slower. Jake could see that they were beautiful vessels with smooth curves and what looked like crystal. Windows. They were nothing like the aggressive military ship chasing them. Those are pirates, Jake realized. They're chasing those 2 ships to steal from them or hurt them. Pete finished his work on the mining lasers. Lasers are ready, Captain, but I still think this is a bad idea. Jake took a deep breath. He had never been in a space battle before. He wasn't a military officer or a hero from the adventure stories. He was just a cargo ship captain who wanted to help people in trouble. But sometimes, ordinary people had to do extraordinary things. Let's see what these pirates are made of, Jake said, and he pressed the button to fire the mining lasers at the attacking ship.